Hello, I'm Samuel Miller, and this is Team Eggplant's Gold Build. The first area was made by myself, Samuel Miller, and it is called Desert Compound. It starts off with a river here that you can hear, that if the player falls in, he will die and be sent back to the last checkpoint. The way the player gets past it is by utilizing these boxes here to make a platform to jump across. If done right, the player can use just one box and save himself a little bit of time. On the right here is the first collectible of our level. That is pretty easy to miss. The player can then approach the door and use the lever here. That has its own audio as well as the door. Once inside, there is a dried up pond on the left here that we need to get across, but it says the pond can't be crossed unless it's filled with water. So we approach this water pump here, and it says the water pump can't be turned on without power. I need to find and turn on the generator. This here, we have a pressure plate that says looks like if the correct buttons are stepped on, something will happen. With the picture there, we know we need to step on the top level, which opens the door to the building. Before we go into the building, though, there is a cache item here that the player can get, but it says if I use the nearby crate, I should be able to reach the top of the pillar. So with the crate, there we go. The player can then get to the top and get the first cache item of the level. Inside the building, there's a door on the right here that can't be opened from this side. It says maybe there's another way in. Over here, there's a door with a lever that can press, and on the inside can find another cube item to collect. Here we have another pressure plate puzzle, just like the one on the outside, and once the player has pressed the two correct ones, you will hear the door open, and the player can then proceed upstairs after grabbing this cube item to the roof. In this room here, there's another collectible. Out on the roof, the player will encounter these boxes that the player cannot get past unless he moves them, like so. Can kind of push this one out of the way to get past. Here we have our first gas can item, which when collected, in our objectives list, it says collect enough gas throughout the level to start the final generator. There's another collectible here. So we will need those gas cans for the final area. Here we have another gas can, and we've dropped down into the generator room. This was the door that we couldn't get past last time. Now we can open it from this side. When we approach the generator and push it, you can hear the generator is now on. We can then go back outside, go to the water pump, and activate it. With the water pump active, we can watch as the pond fills and the debris floats to the top, giving us a jumping puzzle to get across. With a small detour right here, there's another collectible. Ooh, almost fell in. Another collectible right here. And the player can get past this part and then make his way across the entire pond, like so. The player sees the second cache item of the level on top of this pillar, but just like the other pillar, this one requires some crates to get on top of. However, this one requires more than one. If done right, it'll only take two, one of these smaller ones, and this large one. There we go. And before we go up there, there's another cube item right here to collect. And now, the player can go to the top of the pillar and get the second cache item of the level. That completes the first area, and we now go into the second area made by Alonzo Nash, as you can see there. It starts out with this area here with a turret that the player has to avoid. Once past the turret, the player approaches this here with some power lines, which are electrifying the water. So if the player falls in the water, he will die. Once the player's made it past, he can get on top of this crate here for a collectible item. And continue on into this pond here to get another collectible item. It says looks like the water here is safe. Maybe I can find a way into the building. If the player uses the pond and goes underwater to go under the wall here, he can get inside and reach a checkpoint. In front of him, there's a wall or a door here that the player can't get past. There's to be a path around. There are turrets here that if the player uses these pillars here to avoid the turrets and then comes in here and presses the button, that door before will open. Avoiding the turrets, the player can come back over here and now go through the building and continues on into the facility while avoiding this turret. It says the lab should be just ahead. Now find a way inside. There's another collectible right there. The player continues on. Has to avoid these turrets here. And fail. Let's try from here. Getting the collectible here. Wait for the turrets to go by and then comes up to this area where there is the third gas can of the level to gather. This area here, you need to get up over this wall to actually enter the lab. So the player has to use crates again to make platforms to jump up and over, like such. Once over, the player can fall down into the lab. There are more turrets here, as it says, and the fourth gas can of the level. Coming over here, the player finds the lab area with another cache item, and then has to make his way around while avoiding the turrets. Once out of the lab, the player then comes up here, sees a helipad with another cache item on it. The player has to avoid this electrified water here too, as you can see the power lines. And then continues on over the jumping puzzle, gets this collectible, and then has made his way through the second area. The third and final area is made by Russell Olson and is a streets area. On the left here there is a collectible as well as a alleyway with two lasers that says these looks like they can hurt. If the player goes into them, they lose health pretty rapidly. In the room here, the player will see a safe here, but it says the safe is locked and cannot be opened. So what the player has to do is pick it up, but when he does, the pressure plate underneath, as you could hear, closes the door. If the player tries to open it, it says it can't be opened, there is no handle. So the player has to use one of these boxes here to pull an Indiana Jones and put some weight on the pressure plate, if I can get it in place. There we go. And then has to take the safe, if I can get it. There we go. And take the safe outside. And put it through the lasers. This will cause it to break open. And the player can then get the hidden item that is inside. Back out here in the street, there is another collectible right here, as well as some cars that the player cannot jump over. The way the player gets over it is with this box here. Uses it as a jumping platform to get high enough to get over the car's hood. In this area there's a generator on the right as well as a door. The door, however, cannot be opened without power. So the player turns on the generator with E, and now the door can be opened. On the inside there's a turret that the player has to avoid, and in the desk it says E to search. The player will find another hidden item. The player can then go back outside and turn off the generator because it's pretty loud, and then make his way over here, moving these boxes to get over. Behind this truck is another hidden item. Then we come across this ambulance here. On the back you can open the doors with E and find a cure item on the inside. You can also read the EMT log by hitting E. Epinephrine helps stabilize the people who are infected. Good to know. The player then continues down this alleyway, finds another collectible here, as well as here. It says looks like the hospital is down this alley to the left, as you can see there, the red cross. Before we go there though, there's this door here that is locked. So what the player has to do is use this box here to jump up and over the door and get into the room. It says the door was barricaded, no wonder it couldn't open. In here we have a crate here on top of a pressure plate, which when moved, there we go, a panel comes up out of the floor and the player can get another collectible. Out here, in the alleyway, there are lasers that the player has to avoid, like so. If the player messes up and accidentally hits one, the turrets in the hospital parking lot will activate and make it incredibly difficult to complete the area. The player can, however, approach this generator here to turn it off and deactivate the turrets. In the parking lot, there's another ambulance here. On the inside, another cure item. Over here, we've got some crates, which when moved, there's a hidden item as well as a gas can, giving us 5 of 7 gas cans. You can see another gas can on the underside of this truck here. Another ambulance with another hidden item, or a cure item, sorry, as well as the 7th and final gas can. Another hidden item right here, as well as a rare cache item back here. With that, the player's gotten all the items out of the hospital parking lot and can approach the generator with enough gas and hit E to turn on. He can then hit E again to open the door and enter the hospital. On the inside here, there's a pressure plate here that turns off these lasers, as well as a bell. Pretty fun to press. Before we do that though, there's a door over here with a laser and a turret that the player has to avoid, and a collectible on the bed the player can get, and then leave the room, like so. With the pressure plate, if the player puts the box on the pressure plate, the lasers will not come back, and the player can get past. In this room here, we have a book item here for the player to collect, and another generator right here, as well as a collectible there. When the generators turn on, it gets really loud, and it says the power is now running upstairs. The player has to avoid this turret, activate this generator, get the final cure item. As you can see, we have 4 of 4 now. It says we can mix the materials, press E to mix. And now we go down to the basement and the final room. In the basement, we have the final collectible for the area. but there's these lasers here that will kill you, like so, if the player touches them. So what the player has to do is use these boxes here and put them into the correct slots and push these pressure plates in order to make the lasers disappear. Like so, and as you can see, as the pressure plates are pressed, more and more the lasers will disappear. So with these last two, and one more. With that, all the lasers are pressed, and the final collectible, the cure, can be gathered, and it says, "Congratulations, you've completed the level." And that is Team Eggplant's final level. Thank you for watching.